"If I share my cookie, will you stay?" asked the human single dad's daughter to the poor alien mom. The rain fell in thin silver lines across the glass ceiling of Dock 9, turning the busy spaceport into a blur of moving lights and rushing feet. Travelers hurried past in heavy coats, some dragging cargo cases, others holding children close as announcements echoed in calm, mechanical voices. Ships arrived and departed every minute, their engines humming low like distant storms. Near one of the outer waiting platforms stood a man named Evan. His jacket was worn at the cuffs and his boots had seen better days. But he stood straight, one hand holding a small travel bag and the other holding the hand of his daughter. Her name was Lila. She was 6 years old, with wide, curious eyes and hair tied into 2 uneven ponytails. She wore a bright yellow jacket that made her stand out in the gray crowd. In her free hand, she held a small paper packet from the food kiosk nearby. Inside was a single chocolate cookie. Evan checked the departure board again. Their transport was delayed. Again. "It's okay," he said softly, more to himself than to Lila. "We'll wait a bit longer." Lila nodded, but barely seemed to hear him. Her attention was elsewhere. Across the wide platform, near a cold metal wall, sat someone very different from the others. She was tall and thin, with skin the color of pale stone and eyes that reflected light like glass. Her clothes were torn and stained, clearly not made for this climate. She sat on the floor with her knees pulled close to her chest. In her arms, she held a small child. The child looked even weaker. The little one's head rested against her shoulder, eyes half closed, lips dry and cracked. One small hand twitched now and then, like it was reaching for something that wasn't there. No one stopped near them. Some travelers looked for a second, then turned away. Others didn't look at all. A few security drones hovered nearby, scanning faces, checking documents, but none moved to help. Lila noticed. She tugged gently on her father's hand. "Daddy?" she whispered. Evan looked down. "Yes, sweetheart?" "Why is that lady sitting on the floor?" she asked. Evan followed her gaze. He saw the alien woman and the child. He felt a small knot form in his chest. "Maybe she's tired," he said carefully. "But she looks sad," Lila said. "And the baby looks hungry." Evan didn't answer right away. He had learned that spaceports were full of stories. Some were good, some were bad, some were dangerous. You didn't always know which was which. "We don't know what's going on," he said gently. "It's best not to stare." But Lila wasn't staring. She was watching. She looked down at the cookie in her hand. Then she looked back at the small alien child. "Daddy," she said again, softer now. "Can I give her my cookie?" Evan blinked. "Your cookie?" "Yes," she said. "She looks like she needs it more than me." He hesitated. It wasn't that he didn't want to help. He did. But spaceports had rules and dangers, and some species didn't eat human food. Some food could hurt them. Some people didn't want help and reacted badly. "I don't know if she can eat that," he said. "And we don't know her." "But she's hungry," Lila said simply. "I can tell." Evan looked again. The alien woman's arms shook slightly as she held her child. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes darted around the platform, not in fear of the crowd, but in fear of something else, something unseen. Lila tugged his hand again. "Please," she said. "Just let me ask." Evan sighed quietly. "Okay," he said, "but stay close to me." Lila's face lit up. She walked slowly toward the alien woman, holding the cookie in both hands like something fragile. Evan followed a few steps behind, ready to step in if needed. As they approached, the alien woman noticed them. Her body stiffened. Her grip on her child tightened. Her eyes narrowed, sharp and guarded. She said something in a low voice, in a language Evan didn't recognize. Lila stopped a few feet away. "Hi," she said softly. The alien woman didn't respond. Lila looked down at the child. The child's eyes opened a little. They were dark and glossy, and they locked onto the cookie immediately. The child made a faint sound, not quite a word, more like a breath. Lila held out the cookie. She said. "Do you want this?" The alien woman's eyes widened slightly. She shook her head once, quickly, then pulled the child closer. "No," she said in broken common. "We cannot." Lila tilted her head. "Why?" she asked. "It's good. It has chocolate." Evan stepped forward. "Lila," he said gently, "it's okay." But the alien woman stared at the cookie like it was both hope and danger at the same time. "My child," she said. "She is weak. But your food, I do not know if safe." Lila smiled. "I only had one bite," she said proudly. "And I didn't sneeze on it?" Evan almost laughed, but he stopped himself. The alien woman looked confused. Lila stepped closer, slowly, making sure not to scare them. "It's okay," she said. "You can smell it first." She held the cookie out again. The alien woman hesitated. Then she leaned forward just enough to inhale. Her eyes softened just a little. The child lifted her head weakly and reached out with trembling fingers. The alien woman looked down at her child, then back at Lila. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Why?" she asked. Lila blinked. "Why what? Why help?" the woman asked. "You do not know us." Lila thought for a moment. "'Cause you look lonely," she said. "And my teacher says lonely people need snacks." The alien woman stared at her. Something in her face shifted. Very slowly, she loosened her grip and allowed the child to take the cookie. The child bit into it. Her eyes widened. A tiny sound escaped her mouth. Something like surprise. Something like joy. She ate faster than Evan expected. Crumbs falling onto her clothes, chocolate smearing across her lips. She didn't stop, not even to breathe properly. The alien woman watched like she was afraid the food might disappear. Lila smiled. "See," she said. "It's good." The alien woman swallowed hard. "Thank you," she said quietly. "My name is Mira." Evan stepped closer. "Mira, I'm Evan, and this is Lila." Lila waved. The child finished the cookie and leaned back against Mira, breathing deeper now, color returning faintly to her face. "My daughter," Mira said.
Her name is Tess.
Lila crouched down to Tess's level. "Hi, Tess," she said. "I like your eyes." Tess blinked slowly, then reached out and touched Lila's jacket, fascinated by the bright color. Mira watched the girls carefully. "You should not be here," she said to Evan. "With us." Evan frowned. "Why?" Mira glanced around the platform, her eyes flicked to the hovering security drones, then to the patrol officers standing near the far gates. "They are looking," she said, "not for help, for capture." Evan felt a chill. "Capture?" he repeated. "Why?" Mira hesitated. "We ran from something bad." Before Evan could ask more, a sharp voice cut through the noise. "Citizen, step away from the unregistered travelers." Evan turned. Two security officers were walking toward them. Their uniforms were dark gray, their faces blank and serious. A drone hovered above their shoulders, scanning. Mira froze. Her arms tightened around Tess. Her eyes widened with panic. "No," she whispered. No, no, no. Lila stood up quickly and moved closer to Tess, as if shielding her without knowing why. "Daddy," she said softly. Evan felt his heart begin to pound. "It's okay," he said to her, though he wasn't sure it was. The officers stopped a few feet away. "Identification," one of them said to Mira. Mira shook her head. "I lost," she said. "No documents." The officer's eyes hardened. "Then you are in violation of transit law," he said. "You will come with us for processing." Mira backed away slightly, pressing against the wall. "Please," she said. "My child is sick. That will be assessed during detainment," the officer replied. He reached out. Mira cried out and twisted away. "No!" Tess began to cry weakly, frightened by her mother's fear. Lila stepped forward suddenly. "Stop," she said. Everyone froze. The officer blinked. "What? You're scaring them," Lila said. "She just ate my cookie." Evan felt his stomach drop. "Lila," he said quickly. "Come here!" But Lila didn't move. "She's not bad," Lila said. "She's just hungry." The officer looked down at her, clearly annoyed. "Child, move aside." "No," Lila said, her voice shaking but firm. "You can't take her." The drone above them beeped softly. "Sir," the second officer said to Evan, "control your child." Evan stepped forward, placing a hand gently on Lila's shoulder. "I'm sorry," he said.
She just wants to help.
"This is not your concern," the officer said. "These individuals are undocumented."
Mira's breathing grew faster.
"They will not help," she whispered to Evan. "They will take us. They will separate us." Evan frowned. "Separate you? They always do," Mira said, tears forming in her eyes. "They take the children?" Lila looked up at her sharply. "They won't take Tess," she said. "She's staying with you." Mira looked at her in shock. The officer reached out again. That was when Evan made a choice. He stepped in front of Mira. "Wait," he said. "She's sick. You can't just drag her away in public. Let me call medical." The officer narrowed his eyes. "This is not your responsibility," he said. "Move." "No," Evan said, surprising himself with how steady his voice sounded. "You move." The platform around them began to quiet. People noticed. Some stopped walking. Some slowed down. Some turned to watch. The officer stiffened. "Sir, interfering with a lawful detainment is a crime." Evan swallowed. "Then charge me." "But you're not touching her child." Mira stared at him. "You should not do this," she whispered. "They will punish you." Evan glanced back at Lila. She was holding Tess's small hand now, the child clinging weakly to her fingers. "I can't let this happen," Evan said quietly. "Not like this." The officer raised his wrist communicator. "Dispatch," he said. "We have a civilian interfering with an arrest." The drone shifted position, its light scanning Evan's face. Mira's breath came in short gasps. "No," she whispered again. "No, no, no." Suddenly, Tess let out a small cry. Her body jerked once, then went limp. "Tess!" Mira cried. Lila gasped. "Daddy!" Evan rushed forward. "She fainted," he said. "She needs a medic." Now." The officer hesitated, then tapped his communicator again. "Medical unit requested," he said. "Child collapse." Within seconds, a pair of medics rushed over with a floating stretcher and scanning devices. Mira clutched Tess, refusing to let go. "No," she said desperately. "You take her. You never give her back." "We're just here to help," one medic said gently. "Please." Evan stepped beside Mira. They're medics, he said quietly. Not security. Mira looked at him, searching his face. Promise, she said. Promise you will not let them take her. Evan nodded. I promise. Slowly, Mira allowed the medics to scan Tess. She's severely malnourished, one medic said. Dehydrated. Low energy levels. We need to move her to a medical bay. Mira shook her head violently. No transport centers. No detention centers. The officer crossed his arms. She doesn't get to choose. Evan turned on him. She does if you want this crowd to stay calm. The officer glanced around. More people had stopped now. Some were recording, some were whispering. A few looked uncomfortable. The officer frowned. Fine, he said. Temporary care unit on site. But she stays under watch. Mira sagged with relief. The medics carefully placed Tess on the stretcher. Lila stayed beside her, holding her hand. Don't worry, she whispered. I'm here. Mira followed close, refusing to be separated. Evan stayed beside them. They were led to a small medical room near the edge of the platform. The door slid shut behind them, cutting off the noise of the port. Inside, the lights were softer. The air smelled clean and cool. The medics worked quickly, attaching small nutrient lines and hydration patches to Tess's arms. She'll stabilize, one medic said, but she needs rest and food. Mira collapsed into a chair, her whole body shaking. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Evan sat across from her. You said they take children, he said gently. Why? Mira hesitated. They say it is for safety, she said, for processing. But children disappear, parents are relocated, we never see each other again. Evan's stomach tightened. That's not right, he said. It is common, Mira replied softly, for those without power. Leela climbed into the chair beside Mira and leaned against her arm. You won't lose Tess, she said firmly. My dad won't let them. Mira looked at her with wet eyes. Why are you so kind? She asked. Leela shrugged. You shared her with me. I did not share, Mira said weakly. She is my whole life. That's sharing, Lila said seriously. You let me sit with her. Mira let out a small, broken laugh. The door slid open. One of the officers stepped inside. Medical assessment complete? He asked. Yes, the medic said. She's stable for now. Good, the officer said. We'll transfer them to holding. Mira froze. No, she whispered. Please. Evan stood up. She's sick, he said. She needs rest, not detention. She's undocumented, the officer replied. Procedure. Evan felt something rise in his chest. Anger. Fear. Something else, too. Procedure is not more important than a child, he said. The officer's eyes hardened. You're crossing a line. Then draw it somewhere else, Evan said. Lila stood too, gripping Tess's hand. You can't take her, she said again. The officer sighed. Child, this doesn't concern you. It does, Lila said. She's my friend. Mira looked between them. Please, she said to Evan, if they take us, they will never stop. They will not listen. Evan hesitated only a second. Then we don't let them take you, he said. The room went silent. The officer stared at him. Excuse me? Evan's heart hammered in his chest. We leave, he said. Now. That's impossible, the officer said. This area is restricted. Then we find another way, Evan said. The officer stepped forward. You're obstructing official duty. Then arrest me, Evan said. But you're not touching her. Mira stared at him in disbelief. You don't know what you're doing, she whispered. They will come after you. Evan looked down at Lila. She was pale, but her eyes were steady. Daddy, she said quietly, if I share my cookie, will you stay? Mira looked at her sharply. What? She whispered. That's what I asked her, Lila said, nodding toward Tess. I shared my cookie, so she has to stay. Evan felt something twist painfully in his chest. That's not how the world works, he said softly. Lila looked up at him. Then make it work that way. The officer spoke again. Enough. Step aside. The door behind him slid open and another officer entered, along with a drone. Mira's breathing grew rapid. No, she whispered. Please, please. Tess stirred on the stretcher and whimpered. Lila squeezed her hand. It's okay, she whispered. Evan's mind raced. He couldn't fight trained officers. He couldn't outrun security drones. He couldn't win, but he could stall. She's not a threat, he said loudly. Look at her. Look at her child. The officers didn't answer. People deserve help, Evan continued. Not cages. The first officer raised his communicator again. Dispatch, civilian continues interference. Requesting removal. Before he could finish, the lights flickered. Just for half a second. The drone beeped, its lights shifting erratically. What was that? One officer muttered. The lights flickered again. The medical monitor beside Tess let out a soft alarm, then stabilized. Mira stiffened. No, she whispered. No. Not now. Evan looked at her. What? But before she could answer, the door slid open again. This time it wasn't an officer. It was a man in a dark jacket with no insignia and sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. His hair was streaked with gray, and his posture was relaxed in a way that made Evan uneasy. Stand down, the man said calmly. The officers turned. Sir, one asked. These travelers are now under special review, the man said. I'll take responsibility. Mira's eyes widened in terror. No, she whispered. Not him, Evan frowned. Who are you? The man smiled faintly. Just someone trying to keep things orderly. Mira began shaking. You lied, she whispered to Evan. They already found us. What do you mean? Evan asked. The man's eyes flicked to Mira. Come now, he said. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. He stepped closer to Tess. Mira lunged forward, grabbing her daughter. No! Lila cried out and clung to Tess too. Don't touch her. The man paused. He looked down at Lila. Hello there, he said lightly. That's not a safe place to be. She's my friend, Lila said. You can't take her. The man studied her face. Something like curiosity crossed his expression.
You shared your cookie with her, he said. Lila blinked.
How did you know? He smiled. I saw the cameras. Mira trembled. Please, she whispered. She's just a child. So are many things, the man said calmly. That doesn't mean they aren't important. Evan felt cold. What do you want? He asked. The man looked at him. You? He said. Out of the way. No, Evan said instantly. The man sighed. You're making this worse. Then stop, Evan said. Walk away. The man's eyes hardened slightly. That's not an option. Mira backed away toward the wall, clutching Tess. They will take her, she whispered. They will cut her open. They will use what's inside her. Evan's breath caught. What's inside her? He asked. Mira didn't answer. The man stepped closer. Enough, he said. This ends now. Before anyone could move, Tess let out a sudden, sharp cry. Her body arched. A soft blue light pulsed beneath her skin just under her chest. Everyone froze. "What is that?" one officer whispered. A light pulsed again, brighter this time. Mira screamed. "No!" She clutched Tess tightly. The man's eyes widened. "Well?" he said softly. "That's unexpected." Evan stared. The light beneath Tess's skin formed faint lines, like glowing veins, spreading outward across her chest. Lila gasped. "She's glowing!" Tess cried harder now, weak and frightened. Mira rocked her desperately. "No, no, no, please stop." The medics backed away. "That's not medical," one whispered. The man's communicator beeped. He lifted it, eyes never leaving Tess. "Yes," he said quietly. "But Tom confirmed. It's her." Mira looked at Evan with terror in her eyes. "They found us," she whispered. "Now they will never stop." Evan felt like the floor had dropped away beneath him. "What did you bring into my life?" he asked. Mira shook her head. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted my child to live." The blue light flared brighter, then suddenly dimmed. Tess went limp again. "No!" Lila cried. "She's alive," the medic said quickly, checking her. "Her vitals are stable." But the room felt different now, heavier. The man straightened. "All right," he said. "We're done here." "No," Evan said. "You're not taking her." The man looked at him calmly. "You really think you can stop this?" Evan didn't answer. He just stepped in front of Mira and Tess. "Try," he said. The room fell silent. Lila clutched Tess's hand tighter. "If I share my cookie," she whispered to Mira, "will you stay?" Mira looked down at her. Tears streamed down her face. "Yes," she whispered. "I will stay." Outside the door, footsteps echoed. More officers were coming. The man smiled faintly. "This just got complicated," he said. Evan felt his heart pound louder than the alarms. He didn't know what Tess was. He didn't know who Mira really was. He didn't know what kind of danger he had just stepped into. But he knew one thing. He wasn't moving, and as the door began to slide open and shadows filled the doorway, Evan realized that one small cookie had just changed everything. Evan stood in front of Mira and Tess, his arms slightly out to his sides like a wall. Behind him, Leela held Tess's tiny hand, her fingers trembling but firm. The blue light under Tess's skin had faded, but the fear it left behind still filled the air. More boots echoed in the hallway. The man in the dark jacket, whose calm voice felt colder than the officer's commands, tilted his head slightly. "You're making a bad choice," he said to Evan. Evan didn't move. "Then make a better one." The man's lips curved faintly, not quite a smile. "Brave but pointless." Mira shook her head desperately. "Please," she whispered. "She's just a child. So is every tool before it's used," the man replied. Lila looked up sharply. "She's not a tool," she said. "She's Tess." The man studied her. Something unreadable crossed his face, then vanished. "Step aside," he said again to Evan. "No." Behind him, the door slid open. 3 more officers entered, along with another drone. The room filled with the quiet hum of machines and heavy breathing.
"Sir," one officer said to the man. "Orders?" "Secure the asset," the man replied calmly.
"No harm if possible," Mira gasped. "She is not an asset," she cried. "She is my daughter." The officer stepped toward Tess. Mira backed away until her shoulders hit the wall. "Don't touch her," Evan said. The officer paused, looking at the man. The man sighed, clearly annoyed. "You're slowing things down," he said. He turned to Evan. "Listen carefully. That child carries something dangerous." something powerful, something that cannot be left loose in a public space. Then explain it, Evan snapped, instead of trying to drag her away. The man considered him for a moment. Fine, he said. She contains a living system, a key, something that responds only to her biology. It was built long before humans left their first planet, and it should not be active. Mira closed her eyes. They destroyed my world for it, she whispered. My people tried to hide it. They failed. Evan's breath caught. Destroyed? Yes, Mira said. They burned our cities, poisoned our skies, because we refused to give them the children. Lila's eyes widened. They hurt kids? Mira nodded weakly. Evan felt sick. That's why you ran, he said. Yes, Mira replied. We ran through 10 systems. Every time we thought we were safe, they found us again. The man folded his arms. And they found you again because the system inside your child emits a trace signal, he said. It can't be hidden for long. Then why not help us? Evan demanded. Why hunt her? The man's eyes hardened. Because power like that doesn't stay unused, he said. Someone will claim it. Better us than someone worse. Better you? Evan echoed. You sound just as bad. Mira clutched Tess tightly. They said the same thing on my world, she whispered. They said they were saving the galaxy. Lila squeezed her hand. My dad saves people, she said. He doesn't hurt them. The man looked at Evan again. You have no idea what you're stepping into, he said. You're a dock worker with a kid and a delayed transport. Walk away and this ends clean. Evan thought of the look on Mira's face when Tess had glowed. He thought of Lila's voice asking if sharing a cookie meant someone would stay. I can't, he said. The man exhaled sharply. All right, he said. Plan B. He nodded at the officers. Before Evan could react, one officer stepped forward and grabbed his arm, twisting it behind his back. Hey! Evan shouted. Another officer moved toward Mira. No! Lila screamed. Mira turned sideways, shielding Tess with her body. Stop! Evan yelled. She's sick! The drone above them emitted a sharp tone. The man raised his hand. Easy. No damage. The officer, holding Evan, tightened his grip. Daddy! Lila cried, running toward him. Lila, stay back! Evan shouted. She froze halfway, tears filling her eyes. Mira screamed as the second officer reached for Tess. Suddenly, the lights went out. Total darkness. For half a second, there was nothing. Then, red emergency lights flickered on. The room filled with confusion. What happened? Someone shouted. The drone crashed into the wall with a metallic clang. The officer holding Evan loosened his grip in surprise. Mira didn't wait. She ran. She bolted for the door, clutching Tess, knocking into one of the medics who fell backward. Lila! Evan shouted. Lila ran after them. Evan twisted free and sprinted too. The hallway outside was chaos. Doors were opening and closing. Alarms began to wail. Emergency lights flashed red along the walls. Stop them! The man shouted behind them. They ran. Evan grabbed Lila's hand as they sprinted through the corridor. This way, he said, pulling her toward a side passage he had seen earlier. Mira followed, breathing hard, Tess limp in her arms. Footsteps thundered behind them. They turned sharply into a narrow service corridor filled with pipes and storage crates. Where are we going? Lila cried. I don't know, Evan said honestly. Just keep running. Behind them, voices echoed. They're heading toward cargo. Cut them off. Mira stumbled. Evan caught her arm. Don't stop, he said. Lean on me. She nodded weakly and kept moving. They burst into a wide cargo bay filled with stacked containers and automated loaders rolling along tracks in the floor. Ships loomed through massive windows overhead. "Over there," Evan said, pointing to a maintenance door near the far wall. They sprinted toward it. Just as they reached it, a voice called out behind them, "Freeze!" Evan turned. 3 officers stood at the bay entrance, weapons raised. Lila whimpered. Mira backed up, clutching Tess tighter. "Please," she whispered. "Don't." Evan stepped in front of them again. "Stop," he said. "Let her go." One officer advanced. Suddenly a loud crash echoed above them. A cargo loader malfunctioned and dropped a heavy crate, smashing into the floor between Evan and the officers, sending up a cloud of dust and metal shards. "What the?" one officer shouted. "Go!" Evan yelled. They ran again. Evan slammed the maintenance door open, and they spilled into a narrow stairwell. They raced downward, skipping steps, lungs burning. At the bottom, the stairwell opened into a dim utility tunnel lined with pipes and flickering lights. They slowed only when they reached a locked gate at the end. "Locked," Evan muttered, pulling uselessly at the handle. Behind them, footsteps echoed again. "They're coming," Lila whispered. Mira leaned against the wall, panting. I can't run much more," she said. Tess stirred weakly in her arms. Evan's mind raced. He spotted a small access panel on the wall beside the gate. "Help me," he said to Mira. He pulled open the panel, exposing wires and a control box. "Do you know how to open it?" Lila asked. "No," Evan said, "but I know how to break it." He tore at the wiring. Sparks flew. Behind them, voices grew louder. "There!" someone shouted. The gate buzzed, then slid open halfway. "Go," Evan said. Mira rushed through first, nearly stumbling. Lila ran after her. Evan turned just as the gate slid fully open and dove through. He slammed the panel shut behind him and kicked a loose crate beside it into place, blocking the opening. They ran again. The tunnel led them into an abandoned docking wing, dimly lit and dusty, clearly unused. Old transport platforms sat empty, their control panels dark. They slowed, gasping for breath. Mira sank to her knees, still holding Tess. "I can't believe you did that," she said between breaths. "You risked everything." Evan leaned against the wall, chest heaving. "I wasn't going to let them take her." Leela knelt beside Tess. "Is she okay?" she asked. Mira nodded weakly. "She's stable, just tired." Lila brushed Tess's hair gently. "Me too." For a moment, they just breathed. Then Evan spoke. "We can't stay here," he said. "They'll search the station." Mira nodded. "Yes, they always do." "Where were you trying to go before?" Evan asked. Mira hesitated. "Anywhere far from them," she said. "Somewhere they don't look." "Like where?" "There is a refugee settlement beyond the outer lanes," Mira said, "on a moon called Haven Rock. They take in the lost." "That's 3 jumps away," Evan said. "No normal transport goes there." "I know," Mira said quietly. "We were hoping to hide on a freight ship." Evan rubbed his face. "My transport isn't going anywhere near that," he said. "We were just going to a small trade station." Lila looked up at him. "Daddy," she said softly, "we can't leave them." Evan met her eyes. "I know," he looked back at Mira. "But we can't outrun security on foot," he said. "We need a ship." Mira glanced around the empty docking wing. "These docks are closed," she said. "But sometimes old cargo ships are stored here." Evan's eyes lifted. "Show me." They moved quietly along the platforms. Most bays were empty or sealed. Finally, Mira pointed toward a darkened berth at the far end. "There," she whispered. "That one." Evan peered through the window. Inside sat an old transport ship. Its hull was scratched, its markings faded. But it was intact. "Can you fly?" he asked. Mira shook her head. "No, I can," Evan said. She stared at him. "You're a pilot?" "Cargo pilot," Evan said. "Long hauls, old ships, manual controls." Mira's eyes widened. That's impossible timing," she whispered. Evan shrugged weakly. "Baby." They hurried toward the ship. As they approached, Evan noticed the docking lights were off and the access ramp was retracted. "No power," he muttered. "Can you still get in?" Lila asked. Evan examined the side panel. "Maybe," he said. "But it'll take time." Behind them, faint echoes of movement drifted through the tunnels. "They're close," Mira whispered. Evan nodded and began working. He pried open the side panel and rewired the emergency latch. The ramp groaned, then slowly lowered. "Yes," Evan breathed. They rushed inside. The ship's interior was dark and smelled of old metal and dust. "Stay close," Evan whispered. He led them to the cockpit. He dropped into the pilot's seat and activated the main power. The console flickered to life. "Come on," he muttered. "Come on." The system struggled, then stabilized. "Power online," the ship's voice said in a dull monotone. Evan sighed in relief. "Engines?" Mira asked. "Warming up," Evan said. "Give me 30 seconds." Behind them, the docking wing lights suddenly brightened. "They found us," Lila whispered. Evan glanced at the external cameras. Security officers were running into the bay. "Too slow," Evan said. "I need clearance." "They won't give it," Mira said. "Then I won't ask." He activated manual override. Warning lights flashed. "Unauthorized launch," the ship announced. Yeah, Evan muttered. The engines roared to life. The officers outside raised weapons. "Stop!" one shouted. Evan slammed the controls forward. The ship lifted off the platform, scraping the ceiling slightly as it rose. Alarms blared across the bay. They shot forward through the docking tunnel. "Hold on!" Evan shouted. Lila screamed and clutched her seat. Mira shielded Tess with her body. The ship burst into open space. Stars filled the view. Behind them, security ships launched from nearby bays.
"They're chasing us," Mira whispered. Evan glanced at the sensors.
3 interceptors, he said. "Fast ones. We can't outrun them," Mira said. "Not in this thing," Evan admitted. He clenched his jaw. Then Lila spoke. "Daddy," she said quietly, "are we going to die?" Evan swallowed. "No," he said. "We're going to live." He punched in coordinates and activated a blind jump. "Hold tight," he said. The stars stretched into lines. Then everything vanished. Silence. The ship dropped out of jump space violently, shaking from side to side. Warning alarms blared. "Stabilizers offline," the ship announced. Evan fought the controls. "Come on," he muttered. "Don't fail me now." The ship steadied. They were in deep space, far from the station, no ships on sensors. Evan exhaled slowly. "We lost them," he said. Mira collapsed into the nearest seat, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you. You saved us." Lila climbed into her lap and hugged her. "You stayed," she said softly. "Because I shared my cookie." Mira laughed weakly through tears. "Yes," she said, "because you shared your cookie." Tess stirred and opened her eyes slightly. She looked at Lila and made a faint sound, like a tiny laugh. Lila smiled. Hi again. Evan watched them quietly, his chest tight. Then he remembered something. Mira, he said. Back there you said they would cut her open. Mira's face darkened. Yes, she said. They believe the system inside her can be removed and studied, but it can't survive outside her body. So they'd kill her, Evan said. Yes, Mira whispered. Evan's fists clenched. What is it? He asked. What's inside her? Mira hesitated. Long ago, she said, before humans left their homeworld, there was a network built by an ancient civilization. It could shield planets, heal ecosystems, even stop wars by disabling weapons. But it required living keys to activate. My people were chosen to guard them. And Tess is one of those keys, Evan said. Yes, Mira replied. The last one? Last? Evan repeated.
They killed the others, Mira said quietly.
Silence filled the cockpit. Lila looked up at her. Why would anyone hurt kids? She asked. Mira didn't answer. Evan leaned back in his seat, staring at the stars. So they're not going to stop, he said. Are they? No, Mira said. They will hunt us until Tess is dead or in their hands. Evan exhaled slowly. Then we need a plan, he said. What plan? Mira asked. I don't know yet, Evan said. But we can't just run forever. Mira looked at him. Why are you still helping us? She asked. You could turn back. Drop us at the nearest station. Forget all this. Evan looked at Lila. She was holding Tess's hand again, whispering to her softly. Because my daughter wouldn't forgive me, he said. And neither would I. Mira's eyes softened. You are different, she said. Most humans I met, they didn't care. Evan shrugged. Most people care. They're just scared. Mira nodded slowly. They used fear on my world, she said. Said my people were dangerous. Said our children were weapons. They're not, Lila said firmly. She's just a baby. Mira smiled sadly. Yes, she is. The ship's systems beeped. Fuel low, the ship announced. Recommended refuel within 12 standard hours. Evan grimaced. That's not great. We can't dock anywhere official, Mira said. They'll trace us. I know, Evan said. We'll have to find somewhere quiet. He checked the map. There's a mining outpost near a dead asteroid belt, he said. Mostly abandoned. Some traders pass through. No major patrols. Mira nodded. That could work. They flew in silence for a while. Stars drifted past. Tess fell asleep again, her breathing calm now. Lila rested her head against Mira's arm, yawning. Evan kept his eyes on the controls, but his mind raced. He had broken laws. He had stolen a ship. He was now officially a criminal. And somehow he didn't regret it. Mira, he said quietly, back there, when Tess glowed, what was that? Mira looked down at her daughter. That happens when she's scared, she said, or in danger. The system inside her reacts to threats. So, they can track that, Evan said. Yes, Mira said. It sends signals. Evan frowned. Then, jumping won't be enough. No, Mira agreed. They'll find us again. Lila stirred. Who's finding us? Bad people, Evan said softly. But we're faster. Are we? Lila asked. Evan didn't answer. The ship suddenly beeped again. Unidentified vessel approaching, the ship announced. Evan's heart jumped. What? He muttered. He checked the sensors. A single ship appeared on the display, small and fast, approaching from behind. That's impossible, Evan said. No one followed us through the jump. Mira's face went pale. They found us, she whispered. Already? No, Evan said. Too fast. The ship closed distance rapidly. This is bad, Evan muttered. He opened a channel. This is a civilian vessel, he said. State your purpose. Static. Then a voice. Relax, the voice said. I'm not here to arrest you. Evan frowned. Then who are you? Name's Rook, the voice replied. Freelancer. I've been tracking the signal from that kid of yours. Mira gasped. I told you, she whispered. They will never stop. Rook's ship pulled alongside theirs, matching speed. Look, Rook said, I don't work for the suits. I work for credits. And someone put a very big number on that child. Evan clenched his jaw. We're not handing her over, he said. I figured, Rook replied. That's why I haven't fired. Yet, Mira whispered. Rook chuckled. A smart lady. Lila looked up at Evan. Daddy, who is that? A bad man, Evan said. Rook's voice softened slightly. Kid, I'm not bad, he said. I'm practical. I don't like practical, Lila said. I like nice. Rook laughed. Yeah, he said. Me too. That's why I'm giving you a chance. Evan frowned. A chance at what? Run, Rook said. Right now? What? I've got 3 other hunters coming in, Rook continued. Heavier ships, less patient. I could stall them for maybe 30 seconds. That's it. Why help us? Evan asked. Rook was silent for a moment. Because I saw the kid glowing, he said. And I've seen what happens when people turn kids into weapons. I don't like it. Mira stared at the console in disbelief. You're lying, she whispered. Maybe, Rook said, but you've got nothing to lose. Evan hesitated. Then he made his choice. Thank you, he said. We're jumping. Good, Rook replied. Coordinates? I don't trust you, Evan said. Smart, Rook said. Just go! Evan punched in random jump coordinates. The ship began charging. Behind them, 3 blips appeared on sensors. They're here, Mira whispered. 10 seconds, the ship announced. Rook's ship veered suddenly, firing a burst of energy at one of the incoming ships. What the hell, Rook? A voice shouted over open comms. Traffic accident, Rook replied. Evan stared at the screen. 5 seconds. The incoming ships opened fire. Energy blasts streaked past their hull. Hold on, Evan shouted. Lila screamed and grabbed the seat. Mira shielded Tess again. 2 seconds. 1. The stars stretched. Space vanished. Silence. They emerged far from their last location in a dark region near a dying star. No ships on sensors. Evan sagged in his seat. We made it, he whispered. Mira began crying again, this time in relief. Thank you, she said. Both of you. Lila smiled sleepily. You stayed. Yes, Mira whispered. I stayed. Evan turned serious. This can't keep happening, he said. We can't outrun hunters forever. Mira nodded. Then we must go to the ruins, she said. What ruins? Evan asked. The place where the system was built, Mira replied. The place Tess is meant to reach. Evan frowned. And where is that? Mira looked up at the stars. On my home world, she said. What's left of it? Silence filled the cockpit. You said it was destroyed, Evan said. Yes, Mira replied. But the core still exists. And if Tess reaches it, everything changes. How? Evan asked. Mira looked at Tess. She can activate something that can protect entire worlds, she said. End wars, stop invasions, heal planets. And that's why they want her, Evan said. Yes? Evan leaned back slowly. So either we run forever, he said, or we walk straight into the fire. Mira nodded. That is the choice, she said. Lila yawned and leaned against Evan's arm. Daddy, she murmured, are we going to her house? Evan looked at Mira. Yes, he said softly. We're going to her house. Mira closed her eyes. They will be waiting, she whispered. Evan stared at the stars ahead. Then we'll be ready, he said. Behind them, far beyond sensors, unseen by anyone aboard, a faint signal pulsed once through space. And somewhere, someone smiled. The small ship drifted silently through the dark stretch of space, stars scattered like shards of glass in the void. Evan's hands never left the controls, though fatigue had begun to weigh on him. The faint hum of the engines filled the cockpit, blending with the soft breathing of the passengers. Mira held Tess close, her eyes constantly scanning the dim instruments, while Lila leaned against her father, still clutching her small stuffed animal. For a long while, none of them spoke. Each carried their own thoughts, heavy and tangled. The memory of the spaceport, the chase, and the officers haunted them. Yet even with the fear pressing down like a stone, there was a strange relief in having escaped, for now. Evan finally broke the silence. We need a plan, he said quietly, not wanting to startle the others. We can't just drift out here forever. Mira nodded, brushing a stray lock of hair from Tess's face. There is a place, she said softly. A ruined world, the last place my people hid what my child carries. If we can reach it, she can activate it. Activate what? Lila asked sleepily, her voice small. Mira looked down at Tess. Something that can protect entire worlds, stop wars, heal dying planets. That's why they want her. That's why they hunted us. Evan pressed his lips together. And what makes you think we can get there without being caught again? Because it is hidden, Mira said. Even those who destroyed my colony do not know its exact location. Only the key can unlock it, and only the key can survive the journey to it. Evan glanced at Tess. She slept peacefully, her small chest rising and falling. A strange warmth radiated from her, faint but noticeable. He couldn't help but remember the blue glow, the pulse beneath her skin that had illuminated the spaceport like a beacon. Whatever lay inside her, it was more than just life. It was power. Lila stirred again.
Daddy, are we safe now? Evan's hand reached over to smooth her hair. For a little while, he said.
But we're not out of danger yet. The sensors beeped suddenly. Evan frowned and glanced at the screen. A faint blip appeared on the edge of the radar. It was small but moving fast, following their trajectory. Another ship, he said, tension rising in his voice. Mira's eyes widened. They found us already? Evan shook his head. Not sure. Could be a scout. Could be someone else. The ship hummed, its engines straining as Evan adjusted the course, trying to hide their signature. He knew it would only buy them minutes. Whoever was out there was fast, patient, and persistent. Lila clung to his arm. Daddy, are they bad people? Yes, he said softly. They want to hurt Tess to get what's inside her. Mira's hand rested lightly on Tess. They won't take her, she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. Evan checked the radar again. The blip had stopped. For a moment, they thought it had disappeared. Then it moved again, this time closing the distance. They're coming, Evan said, his voice tight. Mira stiffened. We cannot fight them. No, Evan agreed. We have to be smarter than them. The ship shuddered as he pushed it faster, weaving through asteroids and debris fields, small rocks that could have been overlooked in their rush. Outside, the black void was littered with the remnants of dead moons and shattered rock, offering them cover, but only temporary. Mira's gaze never left Tess. "We are close," she said quietly. "I can feel it." Evan looked at her sharply.
Feel what? The place where the system is, Mira said. Where it can be activated?
"She will know when we are near." Evan frowned. "And if the hunters catch us before then?" "They will try," Mira said. "But she is strong. Stronger than anyone knows. And we have you." Evan exhaled. "I don't feel strong." "You are," Mira said simply. "You keep running when no one else would. That is strength." Tess stirred in her mother's arms. A small glow flared beneath her skin again. Faint this time. Mira's fingers tightened around her, instinctively shielding her. The ship's sensors beeped again. Multiple blips appeared. Faster this time. Evan cursed under his breath. "More ships," he said. "They're coming in numbers." Mira's eyes widened. "Then we must move faster." Evan pushed the engines harder. The old ship groaned under the strain, but it held. Outside, the black expanse of space was suddenly filled with small, sleek ships. Hunters, the kind that didn't show mercy. They flanked him, trying to cut off escape routes. "Daddy!" Leela cried. "They're going to catch us." "Not if we make it through this belt," Evan said. "Hold on." The ship rattled violently as he maneuvered through a dense field of asteroids. He barely had time to react as rocks slammed past, scraping the hull. Mira clutched Tess tightly, whispering soothing words in her own language. Tess's small fingers twitched against her mother's arm. One of the hunter ships fired, a streak of energy slicing through the darkness. The shot missed, striking a large asteroid that exploded in fragments. The force pushed Evan's ship off course slightly, sending it spinning. "Hold on!" he shouted, gripping the controls. The hunters pressed closer, relentless. Evan knew their speed advantage would wear down the old transport soon. If they were caught here, Tessa's life would be in danger. Mira leaned close to Evan. "There is a smaller tunnel," she whispered. "Through the field, it is narrow. They will not follow easily."
Evan nodded.
"Show me." She pointed toward a dark cluster of asteroids barely visible on the scanners. "Here," she said. "Follow me." He steered the ship carefully, twisting and banking through the rocks. Sparks flew as the hull scraped against metal fragments. Tess whimpered but didn't cry. Lila held her tight, whispering soft encouragement. The hunters attempted to follow but collided with smaller asteroids, forced to brake or take risky detours. One of them clipped a rock and spun out of control, disappearing into the void. "Keep going," Mira urged. "We are almost safe." The ship emerged from the field into a shadowed region of space. Stars were faint here, distant. The blackness stretched endlessly, offering them cover. Evan exhaled slowly. "We made it, for now." Mira set Tess down gently, letting her rest against Lila. "She is safe for now," Mira said. Lila smiled faintly, brushing Tess's hair. "She stayed," she said softly.
"Yes," Mira whispered.
"Because of you." Evan checked the radar. "We can't stop yet," he said. "They'll regroup and follow us." Mira nodded. "We must reach the ruins. That is the only place they cannot touch her." "What ruins?" Leela asked. "The system," Mira said, "where it can be activated. Our journey happened only there will she be truly safe and able to fulfill her purpose." Evan frowned. "Purpose?" Mira looked down at Tess. She is the last key. Without her, the system cannot function. With her, it can protect worlds. Evan swallowed. And the people hunting us? They want to use her, Mira said quietly, to control or destroy. They do not understand. They only see power. Lila's small hand touched Tess's arm. We're going to help her, she said. Evan nodded, feeling a knot in his chest tighten. Yes, he said. We'll get her there. Outside, the hunters had not given up. Evan could sense their pursuit in the distance. They were patient, skilled, and ruthless. We can't outrun them forever, Evan said. We'll have to fight or hide. Mira's eyes were serious. No fighting, she said. Not with weapons, only with speed and secrecy. They cannot see what they do not find. Evan nodded. Then we'll hide. But we need somewhere stable. A base. There is a station, Mira said quietly. Abandoned, hidden in an asteroid field. Supplies are limited, but it is safe for now. Then we go there, Evan said. The ship angled toward the coordinates Mira gave, moving quietly through the starless expanse. Lila and Tess rested, exhausted but safe for the moment. Evan kept his hands on the controls, alert. Mira whispered softly to Tess, soothing her. Lila watched, her eyes wide with wonder and worry. For the first time since leaving the spaceport, a sense of calm began to settle over them. But Evan knew it would not last. Somewhere out there, the hunters were regrouping, and somewhere even further, powerful forces were moving toward them, drawn by the pulse inside Tess. Evan's jaw tightened. They had escaped for now, but the real danger was just beginning. And in the quiet of the cockpit, he made a silent promise. No, one would take Tess. Not today. Not ever. The stars stretched before them, dark and endless. The ruined world waited, and with it, the key to everything. The journey had only begun. The abandoned station loomed ahead like a shadow drifting in space. Its hull was scratched and worn, panels missing in places, yet it floated steadily, seemingly untouched for decades. Evan guided the ship carefully, maneuvering past floating debris and inactive satellite arrays until the docking bay came into view. Mira held Tess close, whispering to her softly. Lila sat beside them, eyes wide with awe and fear. Is this where we stay? She asked quietly. For now, Evan said. We need supplies, shelter, and time to plan. But we can't linger long. They're still out there. The docking clamps latched with a metallic clang. The lights inside the station flickered weakly, casting long shadows across the walls. Dust floated in the air, disturbed by their arrival. Evan led the group off the ship, each step echoing in the empty corridor. This place hasn't been used in years, he said, scanning the interior. But it's defensible. We can hide here for a while. Mira looked around, studying the corridors. It is quiet, she said, but we are never truly safe. They will find us again, Evan nodded. Then we prepare. We gather supplies, check systems, and make sure Tess stays safe. They moved carefully through the station, checking rooms and storage areas. Empty crates and containers lined the corridors, some containing old rations and tools, others filled with rusted machinery. Evan searched for functional equipment, hoping for something useful in case they were discovered. This should help, he said, finding a small cache of emergency rations and water. Not much, but it's something. Lila's eyes sparkled.
Food, she said, hugging the small packages. Mira smiled faintly.
We must ration it carefully, she said. We do not know how long we will stay. Tess stirred in Mira's arms. Her small hand glowed faintly again, as if sensing the change in their surroundings. Mira held her tighter. It's okay, she whispered. You are safe here. Evan checked the ship's sensors. The systems are functional, he said. Power, life support, everything's stable. We can set up a perimeter and monitor any incoming ships. Mira nodded. Good. We need security. And we need to rest. Tess will need strength for what is to come. They set up a small living area near the docking bay. Evan patched together old crates and panels to form makeshift beds. Lila unpacked a few personal items, holding them close as if they could shield her from the unknown. Night, or what passed for night on the station, fell in silence. The stars outside stretched endlessly, cold and distant. Inside, the station hummed with quiet life. Evan sat at the controls of the ship, scanning the outer sectors. No ships in the immediate area, he reported, but sensors are limited. They could be hiding, waiting. Mira sat with Tess in her lap. We must hope, she said softly, and we must prepare. Lila climbed onto Evan's lap. Daddy, she said quietly, will they come here? Evan stroked her hair. They might, he said, but we'll be ready. We have to be. Hours passed. The small group settled into a tense routine. Mira whispered quietly to Tess, singing soft, soothing songs from her home world. Lila drew pictures on scraps of paper, trying to make sense of the chaos around them. Evan maintained a constant watch, eyes scanning sensors, hands hovering over controls. Suddenly, the sensors beeped sharply. Evan's heart skipped a beat. Multiple blips appeared on the edge of the radar, fast and coordinated. They've found us, he said, his voice tight. Mira's face went pale. Already? They're fast, Evan said, and they won't wait. Lila clutched his arm. Daddy, I know, he said softly, but we have an advantage. They don't know these corridors like we do. He led Mira and Lila through a side passage, keeping Tess close. The station's old corridors twisted unpredictably, giving them narrow paths and hidden rooms where they could monitor intruders. The blips on the sensors drew closer. They were cautious, methodical, searching for signs of life. Evan adjusted the ship's external cameras, watching as the hunters moved through the outer docking areas. They're splitting up, he said, looking for an entrance from multiple directions. Mira glanced at Tess. She can sense them, she said. The system reacts to threats. Dark, but it cannot fight. Not yet. Evan nodded. Then we must do it ourselves? They moved carefully, taking advantage of shadows and narrow spaces. Evan led them to an upper level of the station, where old storage rooms offered cover. He checked each room before allowing Mira to rest with Tess. Lila stayed close, holding her mother's hand. Hours passed in tense silence. Outside, the hunters searched the station, unaware of the hidden family inside. Their footsteps echoed faintly, their scanners sweeping the empty corridors. Evan kept his eyes on the sensors. They're organized, he said. They won't give up easily. Mira nodded. We must be patient and careful. Tess cannot be exposed. The hours dragged on. Lila fell asleep against Mira's side, her small breathing steady. Tess remained in Mira's arms, her glow faint and steady, a quiet pulse in the dim light. Evan finally allowed himself to rest, leaning against the wall. He closed his eyes briefly, listening to the distant hum of the station and the faint pulse of Tess's energy. Then, a soft vibration echoed through the corridor. Evan opened his eyes sharply. Mira's hand tightened on Tess. Lila stirred. What is it? Evan whispered. They are here, Mira said. Evan peeked through a small window in the door. Outside, a group of hunters moved carefully, scanning the area with portable scanners. Their weapons were raised, their movements deliberate. "They'll find us if we stay," Evan said. "We need to move." Mira nodded. "There is a maintenance tunnel," she said. "It leads deeper into the station. Few know of it." Evan opened the door quietly. "Lead the way," he whispered. They moved cautiously, the air thick with tension. The tunnel was narrow and dark, lined with old pipes and panels. Dust and cobwebs brushed against their arms as they passed. Outside, the hunters paused, listening. Their scanners beeped faintly, but they did not enter the maintenance tunnel. Evan led the group deeper, finding a small room that could serve as a temporary shelter. "This will do," he said softly. "At least for now." Mira set Tess down gently. Lila huddled beside her mother. "Are we safe?" she whispered. "For a little while," Evan said. "But we can't relax. Not yet." They rested in silence, the faint pulse of Tess's glow filling the small room. The station around them was silent, except for the hum of life support and distant echoes of movement. Hours later, Evan checked the sensors again. The hunters had left the immediate area, likely regrouping. Mira breathed a sigh of relief. "We cannot stay long," she said. "We must continue to the ruins. The longer we wait, the closer they get." Evan nodded. "I know, but we need supplies and rest first. Tess will need strength for the journey." They rationed the food and water they had, sharing what little they could. Lila tried to help, passing small packages to her mother. Mira whispered encouragement to Tess, brushing her hair and humming softly. Outside, the station remained quiet, but Evan knew it was only a matter of time before the hunters returned. He checked the ship's systems, making sure engines and fuel were ready. "We'll leave soon," he said, "once Tess has rested." Mira nodded. "Yes, we must move quickly and carefully. The ruins await." The night, or what passed for night in the abandoned station, stretched on. The stars outside were distant and cold. Inside, the small family huddled together, waiting, watching, and preparing for the journey that would decide everything. And somewhere far away, unseen, the hunters regrouped, plotting their next move. The pulse of Tess's system was faint but steady, a beacon in the darkness. Evan's jaw tightened. They were not safe yet, but they would fight. They would hide. And they would reach the place where Tess could fulfill her purpose. The real test was coming, and there was no turning back. The abandoned station felt colder than before, though the life support hummed steadily. Evan had spent hours checking the ship and monitoring the outer sectors. Mira kept Tess in her lap, whispering softly in a language that made her daughter's small chest rise and fall with calm breaths. Lila was curled against Evan, eyes heavy with sleep, but alert enough to flinch at every distant sound. "We can't stay here much longer," Evan said quietly. "They will come back. They always do." Mira nodded, brushing a hand across Tess's hair. "I know, but we needed to rest. She cannot travel without strength." Evan rubbed his eyes. "And we cannot move without planning." "They are patient. They will wait for the right moment." Lila lifted her head slightly. "Daddy, will they hurt her if they catch us?" Evan swallowed. "Yes, but we're not going to let that happen. We'll get her to the ruins before they can." Tess stirred, and a faint glow pulsed beneath her skin. Mira's eyes softened. "She can sense them," she whispered. Even now, outside, the silence was deceptive. Evan checked the sensors repeatedly. Small blips appeared at the edge of their range. The hunters were cautious, spreading out, searching without committing. They were skilled, and that made them dangerous. "We'll move at first light," Evan said. "We need supplies, and I want to map the safest route to the outer lanes." Mira nodded. "Good. I can guide you. I know the pathways, though not all are safe." The hours passed slowly. Evan monitored the sensors, noting asteroid fields, dead satellites, and abandoned cargo platforms. Mira whispered to Tess, calming her, while Lila doodled quietly on scraps of paper. Suddenly, a soft vibration ran through the station floor. Evan's hand shot to the sensor panel. "Blips," he muttered. Mira's hand tightened around Tess. "They are close." Evan crept to the observation window. Through the murky shadows, he saw faint lights moving across the docking bay, scanning, methodical. "They're searching again," he said. "We need to move. Now." Mira nodded. "The maintenance tunnels are narrow. They will not follow easily. This way." They gathered what little supplies they had, securing the ship and rationing water. Tess remained in Mira's arms, her faint glow pulsing with every beat of her small heart. Lila held her mother's hand tightly. The maintenance tunnel was dark and tight, lined with old pipes and panels. Dust drifted through the air as they moved carefully, each step echoing softly. The hunters were outside, still searching, but unaware of their escape route. "This way," Mira whispered, leading them through twists and turns. "We have a few hours before they realize." Evan followed closely, guiding Lila and keeping an eye on the map. He noted potential traps, narrow passages, and the points where they could hide if pursued. Every sound, every vibration made him tense. Hours passed. The station grew quieter behind them. Finally, they reached a small storage room hidden behind a bulkhead. It was dusty, filled with old crates, but it offered them a temporary shelter. "We can rest here," Evan whispered, "for a little while. Then we move." Mira set Tess down gently. "She needs sleep, and we need to plan. The hunters will come again, but we will be ready." Lila crawled onto the floor beside Tess. "She stayed," she whispered, "because I shared my cookie." Mira smiled faintly. "Yes," she said, "she stayed because of you." Evan checked the sensors again. The hunters had not yet found them, but he knew it was only a matter of time. They could hide, but they could not escape forever. "We need to prepare the ship," he said. "Fuel, engines, navigation. We'll move when the light is right." Mira nodded. "Yes, and we must be careful. Every step must be planned. The ruins are close, but the path is dangerous." Tess slept peacefully in Mira's arms. Lila rested her head against her mother's lap. Evan's hands hovered over the controls, ready at a moment's notice. The hours passed slowly, filled with tension and quiet preparation. The pulse of Tess's system was faint but steady, a silent reminder of the danger they faced. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The hunters would return, and beyond them, forces even more dangerous moved through space, drawn by the system inside Tess. Evan clenched his jaw. They would reach the ruins. They would protect Tess, and no one would take her. The journey ahead was long, and every step was perilous. But for the first time in days, they felt a small sense of hope. They were not alone, and they were not defeated. The ship floated through the shadowed region of space, quiet except for the faint hum of the engines and Tess's steady breathing. Evan's hands rested lightly on the controls, but his eyes never left the sensors. Mira sat beside him, Tess in her lap, whispering softly in her old language. Lila lay against her father, half asleep, her small hand still clutching her stuffed toy. "This is it," Mira said quietly, almost to herself. "The ruins are close. I can feel it." Evan adjusted the course, navigating carefully through a narrow asteroid field. The ancient rocks stretched out in a chaotic maze, but Mira's guidance was precise. "Keep left," she instructed. "Avoid the larger clusters. The system is just beyond." They moved cautiously. Every rock and shadow seemed to threaten them, yet Evan kept the ship steady. He knew the hunters were still out there, waiting for any mistake. Are they still following us? Lila asked sleepily. I don't think so, Evan said, but we can't be sure. Tess stirred again, and a faint blue glow pulsed beneath her skin. Mira's fingers tightened around her. She can sense them, she whispered. Even if we cannot. Evan glanced at the sensors. There were no immediate blips, but he knew it was a temporary calm. They were deep in uncharted space, beyond normal patrol routes. But the hunters were persistent and skilled. The ship drifted further into the asteroid field. Mira leaned close to Tess. Almost there, she murmured. Tess's glow grew slightly, responding to her mother's voice. Evan navigated carefully, threading the ship between massive rocks. Outside, the void was dark, silent, and full of hidden dangers. One wrong turn, one miscalculation, and they could be crushed or stranded. Hours passed. The asteroid field began to thin, revealing a strange, broken planet ahead. Its surface was jagged, blackened by fire and scars of ancient destruction. Mira's eyes widened. This is it, she whispered. The ruins. Evan slowed the ship. Looks dangerous, he said. Debris everywhere. Landing will be tricky. Mira nodded. We have no choice. The system is here. Only here can Tess fulfill her purpose. The ship descended cautiously, navigating through the jagged mountains and craters. Each landing attempt required careful adjustment, and Evan's heart raced with tension. Finally, they touched down on a flat, rocky plateau near the center of the ruins. The ship shuddered, but it held. They climbed out slowly, Tess in Mira's arms, Lila close behind Evan. The ruins stretched before them, ancient towers, fractured walls, and remnants of a civilization long gone. The air was thin but breathable, and a strange hum resonated from the ground beneath their feet. This place? Lila whispered. It's old. Yes, Mira said softly. Older than anything you have seen. My people built this to protect worlds. Only the keys could activate it. And Tess is the last key. Evan kept scanning the horizon. The hunters had not yet arrived, but he could feel the tension. Every shadow could hide danger. Every sound could signal pursuit. Mira knelt and placed Tess on the ground. The small girl's glow brightened, responding to the energy around her. You must go, Mira whispered. It is your choice, Tess. Tess looked around, blinking her large eyes. Then she reached out, touching a broken pillar. A ripple of light spread from her fingers, moving across the ruins, activating dormant machinery buried in the rocks. Evan's jaw dropped. Lights flickered across the ruins as the ancient system slowly powered up. Machines hummed, barriers lifted, and a protective shield began to rise around the plateau. The glow from Tess's small body illuminated the entire area, radiating warmth and power. They're coming, Mira said quietly. Outside the shield, they could see distant shapes, ships emerging from the void, hunters closing in. But as they approached, they were repelled by the energy barrier. Lasers bounced harmlessly off it, and engines strained against the invisible wall. Evan's face lit with awe. She did it, he whispered. Tess, she's doing it. Mira smiled, tears in her eyes. The system responds to the key. She is the key, and she is safe, for now. Lila hugged her mother tightly. She stayed, she whispered. She really stayed.
Yes, Mira said.
Because of you. The hunters regrouped outside the barrier, trying to find a weakness, but the system was stable. Evan monitored their sensors, noting that none could penetrate it. He exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. "This isn't over," he said, "but we have a moment. And we have a chance." Mira knelt beside Tess, her hands resting gently on her daughter's head. "You are the last hope," she whispered. "Protecting worlds, healing what was broken, ending the wars that they started." Tess's glow pulsed stronger, reacting to her mother's words. The ancient system beneath the ruins activated fully, sending waves of energy across the planet. Cracked towers lifted slightly, repairing themselves. Broken walls mended. The air shimmered as if the planet itself was breathing again. Evan watched in awe. "She's changing everything." "They will not harm her here," Mira said. "Not while she remains the key." Lila looked at Evan. "Daddy, will they leave us alone now?" Evan shook his head slowly. "Not forever, but we bought time, and we will protect her." Mira's eyes scanned the horizon. "We must remain vigilant. They will not give up. But here Tess is strong. And we have hope." The hunters retreated slightly, unable to breach the shield. They regrouped, their engines cutting out as they analyzed the barrier, but they could not enter. The ruins had claimed Tess as their guardian, and the ancient system obeyed only her. Hours passed. The family remained near the center of the plateau, Tess glowing steadily. Lila whispered stories to her sister, Mira hummed softly, and Evan kept watch. For the first time in days, they could breathe without immediate fear. Then Mira spoke quietly. "The system will heal this place slowly, restoring what was lost, but it needs time. We must be patient and protect Tess until the work is done." Evan nodded. "And the hunters?" "They will wait," Mira said. "They always do, but they cannot harm her here. The ruins are her sanctuary." Lila held Tess's hand. "She stayed because I shared my cookie," she whispered. Mira smiled through tears. "Yes, and it made all the difference." Evan exhaled, watching the ruins glow softly under the energy emanating from Tess. "We're safe, for now." Mira looked at him, her eyes steady. "We will stay. We will protect her, and one day when the system has restored itself, the galaxy may finally find peace." Tess's glow softened, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The small family huddled together, watching the ruins awaken around them. Outside the protective barrier, the void of space stretched endlessly, but within it, a fragile sense of hope had taken root. The hunters had not won. They would not win while Tess remained the key, while her family stood by her side, and for the first time, Evan allowed himself to believe that they could survive, not just escape. Time moved slowly as the ruins continued their quiet restoration. Broken structures healed. Energy fields stabilized. The pulse from Tess filled the plateau with a soft light, a signal to the universe that something new was being born. Evan leaned back against a cool stone, holding Lila close. Mira cradled Tess, whispering songs from a lost world. And for the first time, the shadows that had followed them began to fade, at least for a little while. Somewhere in the distance, beyond sensors and reach, the hunters regrouped, plotting and waiting. But the ruins would not yield, and the system, guided by the last key, Tess, stood ready to protect the world and those who had risked everything to bring her here. Evan looked at the glowing ruins, at Mira, at Lila, at Tess, and felt a quiet resolve settle in his chest. They had survived. They had reached the sanctuary, and they would not give up. Not now, not ever. The stars outside sparkled cold and distant, but here, on the ancient ruins, warmth and light had returned.